Hi everyone, welcome to Leadership Blueprints. My name is Richard. I'll be giving you a brief overview of the course so you can kind of know what to expect going forward. And obviously you just met Ross and learned about his history at William O'Neill & Company and running a hedge fund. You also met myself and Ray, and now we're doing the course overview. So after this first part here, we've got the kind of meat of the course, the first main section covering the basics. And this is really the kind of essential knowledge that you'll need to understand and learn the more advanced technical analysis techniques that we'll teach you in part 1, part 2, part 3, and part 4. So we talk about what moves the market, what are institutions buying, can slim, price and volume basics, support and resistance, what are bases and base stages, and stage analysis. And in here, we've got a few different quizzes to make sure that you're up to speed and are basically ready to move on and learn the rest of the course. And taking a step back for just a second, overall ignoring this welcome section, there are 24 main learning modules, each complete with text, graphics, examples, a ton of different examples showing exactly what we hope to see. And many of them have videos from myself, Ray, or Ross explaining the concepts. So whatever way you learn best, whether it's by reading, looking at examples, or listening to videos, we've got you covered, and we're really making sure that you've got that concept cemented into your mind so you can go out there and apply it for yourself within your own trading. So with that said, let's move on back to the outline, and after covering the basics, that essential knowledge, we'll move on to part 1, which is identifying accumulation in an uptrend. And there are two main ways that basically we talk about: subtle and visible accumulation. In subtle, we talk about volume signatures, tight price action, and we have a ton of different examples to really show exactly what we like to look for. Then we talk about visible accumulation, which is step ups in daily average volume, big volume gap ups, and highest daily volume since the IPO. And once again, we include a ton of different examples and graphics to really explain exactly what we like to look for and basically identifying those particular leadership blueprints. So once we've done part 1, we've identified accumulation in an uptrend. We've identified those potential true market leaders in model book stocks. Then part 2, we talk about developing conviction in those ideas. So we talk about relative strength days, relative strength phases. We talk about how to effectively use key moving averages, which I think is a little bit misunderstood by most people. And then finally, we talk about how to use weekly charts effectively, exactly like William O'Neill did to identify accumulation and distribution during an uptrend and a base. And after that, we've got part 3, identifying institutional distribution. So in parts 1 and 2, we talked about identifying potential leaders, identifying strong uptrends, and developing that conviction in a name. And part 3 is kind of the other side of the equation. When do we start noticing signs that the character has changed in the stock or the market that might mean it's time to sell at least part of our position? So we talk about index distribution days, both subtle distribution as well as subtle accumulation. We talk about breaking key moving averages, climax tops, blowout volume, and late stage base failures, again with a ton of different historical examples and videos. And finally, we move on to part 4, which is putting everything we learned in the basics, part 1, part 2, and part 3 together, as well as some key takeaways that we think is really, really important that you know going forward with your trading. And in this part, we also have a kind of summarizing webinar from myself, Ross, and Ray, going through every single key concept that we talked about with examples and additional commentary as well. It's really comprehensive. So once again, just another resource to really understand the meat of this course. And overall, we know that this is a lot of information, which is why we've decided to kind of drip it out module by module so you're not getting hit with all of it at once, because we don't want you to go through this in just a single weekend and blaze through it. We want you to take your time, take notes, study the videos, reread the modules, and then once the next section is released, move on to the next part and apply what you learned in the previous section to the next one. So we really want you to take your time, and we want this to be a resource that you can basically refer back to in months, years to come, and so you can keep applying that knowledge and applying it to your own personal trading. So best of luck, and I hope you enjoy the course. And let us know on Twitter or reaching out by DM or email if you have any questions. Thanks.